Hello, welcome to Sunday service. My name is Mike Zahari, and I'm giving you the service from the Mission of Riverdale, Church of Scientology, 308 Broadview. Today's service is going to be spiritual in nature, and I'm going to begin it with the Scientology prayer for total freedom. All right, here we go. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe. And may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, attacked, or trapped. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want, freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like. And freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. All right. So today's sermon is titled The Ultimate Truth. Let's find out what it is. Philosophy did not die with ancient Greece. Out of the natural philosophy of those times came science. The wonders of chrome and metal cars, planes, the atomic bomb, and even satellites have their roots in the firm base of Greek philosophy. But Socrates, Aristotle, Euclid, Thales, Heraclitus, Parmenides, Democritus, Pythagoras, Plato, Anaxagoras, Lucretius, and all the rest did not have in mind the manufacture of material things when they released their knowledge to the world. Even though all these great things developed out of Greek thought and mathematics, the great names of philosophy considered that they had failed. And so they had, until today. For their philosophic goal was the understanding of the spirit of man and his relationship to the universe. And they could only speculate upon it. They never proved their contention that man was a spirit clothed in flesh. They could only assert it. So they drowned in the avalanche of superstition which engulfed the world in the Dark Ages. Why did they fail? They needed a higher mathematics and electronics which would, over 2,000 years later, develop their philosophies. They were developed, but they were used for different purposes than those intended, and man turned his back upon their lofty dreams while building planes to bomb cities and atom bombs to wipe out the mankind no one ever understood until Scientology. And in the goals of Greek philosophy lives again. I'll give you that again. And in it, the goals of Greek philosophy live again. Using modern developments in the sciences, it became possible to approach again the basic problems. What is man? What is his relationship to the universe, and what is the universe? Scientology, after a quarter of a century of careful research and investigation, can answer with scientific truth those questions and prove the answers. This is rather startling. We have come so far from Thales, Heraclitus, and Parmenides and Democritus that we have almost forgotten what they were trying to discover. But if you consult writings of the work they did over 2,000 years ago, you will see what it was. They wanted man to know. They wanted him to know. They did not fail. They laid the ancient Greeks a firm foundation on which to build. And 2,000 and more years later, we can furnish all the evidence they need. We have been asking this question for a very long time. That evidence and its truths and its great potential of betterment for the individual and all mankind are completed work today in Scientology. We have reached the star they saw, and we know what it is. One finds its value when he becomes a Scientologist, a being who has come to know himself, life, and the universe, and could give a hand to those around him to reach the stars. Man has asked a great many questions about himself. Such questions as, who am I? Where did I come from? What is death? Is there a hereafter? Any child asks these questions, yet man has never had answers that long satisfied him. Religious have various answers to these questions, and they belong, in fact, in the field of religious philosophy, since this is the area of man's knowledge that has sought to answer them. Answers have varied through the ages and race to race, and this variation alone is the stumbling block which brings disbelief into faiths. Old religions fade because people no longer find their answers to the above questions real. Materialistic sciences have sought to invalidate the entire field by shrugging the problem off with the equally impossible answers that one is merely meat and all life arose by spontaneous and accidental combustion from a sea of ammonia. Such answers sound more like pre-Buddhist India, where the world was said to be carried on 7 pillars that stood on 7 pillars, which stood on an elephant, and in exasperation to the child's question as to what the turtle stood on. Did I say elephant or turtle? I'm going to give you that part again. Such answers sound more like pre-Buddhist India, where the world is said to be carried on 7 pillars that stood on 7 pillars, which stood on a turtle, in exasperation to the child's question as to what the turtle stood on. Mud. And it's mud from there on down. Interesting. And it is the nature of truth that if one knows it, even more things get understood. The disease and decay of Asia tend to invalidate their concepts as truth, and in the West, war where soldiers saw Gut mit uns, which means God is with us, on the slain enemy belt buckles tended to end the domination of the churches of those times. That would have been on the German belt buckles during World War II. For God could not be on both sides of such devil's work, or so the soldiers reasoned. You can't both be killing others on the side of God. Who's on the side of God then? If both of you have to die, it doesn't make sense. Even Christ's great commandment of love thy neighbor seems to have less force today in a world of income tax, inflation, and the slaughter of civil populations in the name of peace. So, without in any way condemning or scorning any man's beliefs, Scientology arose from the ashes of a spiritual science and asked again and answered the eternal questions. That the answers have the force of truth is attested by the results. Instead of the sickness of religious India, Scientologists are seldom ill. Instead of internal warfare, such as the riots of Alexandria, Scientologists live in relative harmony with each other and have skills that restore relationships rapidly. The world tends to attack new things, and Scientology has had its share from vested interest groups and governments that it keeps rising, eventually victorious with each clash without bitterness. Now, in earlier Sunday services, we had talked about man being basically good. And that would be the guiding point here when we get attacked as a religion, or any religion gets attacked, or any person of spiritual betterment gets attacked, is that the person attacking somewhere at some level is basically good. Misinformed perhaps, taught incorrectly perhaps, suffering from motivations that are not quite aligning to the overall survival. That's sort of the predominant idea here within Scientology, of where we remain victorious from each clash without bitterness. Okay? Taking a long view on this. Various interesting results proceed from the practice of Scientology. One's intelligence increases and one's ability to handle his problems is markedly better. One does not have to study Scientology very long to know that one does not have to die to find out what he is or where he is going after death. For one can experience it all for himself with no persuasion or hypnotism or faith. Faith is in quotation marks here. So, carrying on. So Scientology is different mainly because one doesn't have to believe in it to have it work. Its truths are of the order of, is this black? Is this white? You can see for yourself. Something is black if it's black, and that something is white when it's white. No tricks of logic are needed to prove any point, and Scientology only asks people to look for themselves. Thus, along with science, Scientology can achieve positive and invariable results. Given the same conditions, one always gets the same results. And anyone given the same conditions can obtain the same results. Interesting. What has happened is the superstition has been subtracted from spiritual studies. And today, this is a very acceptable state of affairs to man. So superstition here would be I sure hope it works, or it seems to work for some. That isn't what we're talking about. This is the actual, for you, reality that you receive, and it's now yours, and it's unshakable because it's yours of, yes, I am in fact a spiritual being. And I do have a part in this whole thing called life. And I can affect things. Okay? The ultimate freedom depends on knowing the ultimate truth. Truth is not what people say it is what it is. And truth, quite remarkably, sets one free. Just like the philosophers have said down through the ages. What the philosophers did not say was how free could one get. And that is the surprise contained in Scientology. For everyone who walks the road to truth, one can be totally free. So you could be free from some of the sufferings of life that you're going through. You could be free from some oppression that's in the environment. You could be free from not being able to put forward goals. You could be free from all manner of things. But the ultimate freedom is this restoration of who and what you are. Somebody made this playing field called Earth. Somebody made this playing field called the physical universe. And to the degree that you're part of it, you're still in it. You're not free. Spiritually, you could be free within it, but be free spiritually as well. Naturally, this makes no friendly news to the person who wants slaves and fascists, capitalists, and even more liberal creeds prohibit that utterly for who could be a master, so they think, where no slave wears their chains. They miss the point entirely for who has to be a master. Whether you yourself hold the truth, the shadows by which you are bound tend to slither away. And when you at last know for yourself in your own experience that Scientology does have the answers, and when you have applied them, you have the result in all philosophies, savants, sages, and saviors have always dreamed of, and freedom as well. As much of Scientology is true for you as you know of it. Those who know it only by name react to the hope of it. And as one advances upon the road, one knows more and more of it and is more and more free. Unlike so many promises made to man, and which have made him fear disappointment, Scientology delivers. It may be a rough road. It may be over a smooth one, but Scientology eventually delivers all it says it can. And that is what is new about it and why it grows. No other religion ever given man delivered. For the first time in all the ages, there is something that within one lifetime delivers the answer to the eternal questions and delivers immortality as well. To learn more about what it is that I've talked about, read L. Ron Hubbard's book called Scientology, New Slant on Life. There are other essays in there as well. So I hope this has given you a different perspective on life and living, and you as a player within this game. You are a spirit. You can be free. You do have abilities. You do have awarenesses. You do have knowledge. You do have certainties. Don't invalidate them. Thank you very much.